Hey Internet, today we'll be swapping out a new screen on my Acer E15 laptop. This is what our screen looks like before the swap. This is not actually the original screen on the computer. This is from a newer model, but you can tell the viewing angle is still atrocious. The colors are just washed out and kind of bland. So this particular tutorial is for an Acer E15-575G. The screen we'll be using today is from laptopscreens.com. This particular screen is a B156Han01.1. In order to swap the screen, you'll need just a few things. One, a Phillips head screwdriver to unscrew the screen that's in there already and put the new one in. And you might be able to use a guitar pick as well just to loosen the casing. Most likely you can do it with your hands. Alright, first off we're going to put the screen aside carefully and turn off our computer completely. A lot of people would recommend disconnecting the battery completely. I'm not sure if that's completely necessary for this piece of work because the plug is pretty hard to mess up. It's not like you're going to accidentally plug it into the wrong place. But that is a precaution that you may want to take just to make sure that you don't blow out your brand new screen. The way we're going to do this is remove the front part of our screen casing here around the front here. It just pops off with simple snaps. Inside there are a few screws that we'll undo in order to remove the screen from the back casing. Once done, we'll just unplug the old screen and plug in the new screen. It's relatively simple. Pulling off the front of the casing is a little bit challenging just because it's a little bit harder than you would expect. You will need to get your fingers up underneath this rim here. You can use the guitar pick for this if you like, but I would just use my fingers for most of it. It is easier to pry on it from the screen side than from the outside edge. You want to use the inside edge here and just go around and remove each of those clips. You'll hear them snap. You want to be gentle here if you can, but really it does take a little more force than I would have expected. And just like that, you can remove the front part of the case here. You do want the screen to be relatively open. You don't want it closed like this while you're doing that, because it'll make it hard to get these hinge points out, but as long as it's open, it shouldn't be a big deal. You can see that there's quite a few screws in here. We only need to take off 4 of them. This one, that one, this one, and that one. The rest are holding in other, like the hinges, for example, and these little rods that kind of stiffen the case. I find it useful to use one of these magnetic screw dishes to make sure I don't lose anything. Oops, not that screw, this screw. And our old screen should lift straight out. You can just fold it down over the keyboard if you like. This is the plug that we're going to remove. It's held on just by a piece of tape. You'll have to peel that up. Since I've pulled the screen out a couple times, my tape is not as sticky as probably yours will be, but it's not hard to do. Careful not to peel back all the way. You just want to remove this part here that's kind of holding it to the old screen. Once done, you can kind of pinch it on the back and just pull it out. It'll kind of pop. There it goes. So this is your old screen. I'd hold on to it in case something goes wrong with your new one, and you'll have an extra. We'll pull out the new one next. The new one comes with a protective film here. I like to leave it on until I'm all finished with the installation. That way I don't end up scratching it while I'm putting it in. First you'll need to plug it in, so just do the same process in reverse. Flip it over. In order to plug it in, you don't really want to push on the back because there's nothing solid there to push on, but you can pull on the tape. So you get it seated in that little plug. You'll see that there's a little clip on both sides. It's a little hard to see here. The new clip has 2 little kind of snaps on either side. You'll need to push both of those in and make sure you hear and feel them both. Otherwise it might not be fully plugged in. 1, 2. There we go. That looks pretty solid. You can put the tape down. I would actually recommend adding just another strip of tape of your own if you have removed your screen several times like mine. It worked fine for me the first few times, but at this point the poor tape is just not sticky enough. And then we'll just put it back in reverse. you might notice that there's 2 sets of holes on each of these tabs. One set is for the locating pin. There's a little plastic pin that kind of fits in there. And the other set is for the screw. So if you find something the screw not going in properly, it might be because you're using the wrong hole. The screw holes have a little brass threading underneath them. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and boot up the computer and make sure everything's working before I put the front cover back on. Alright, it is alive. Wonderful. Here's our front cover. We'll put the bottom end first so that we can make sure... Oh, I nearly forgot to remove the protective film. Handy that they put that sticker on there so you can remember. It has this nice tab here. That's quite nice. Turns out there's actually a cable that can get in the way of this. You'd think I would know this after doing it 2 or 3 times, but I consistently forget. We're going to pull this off real quick. There it is. It's the silver cable that we just plugged into the new monitor. Right here. It has a little channel that it needs to be routed into. You can use a screwdriver to do that, or some kind of plastic tool. Or your hands. Yeah, we'll just use our hands. There's a couple little hooks it needs to fall behind. This one's the most important, though. You may need to close the laptop a little bit to get it to fit. That's better. Now that it's out of the way, our clips should snap in properly. Hinges first. My computer has a bit of a gap here. I'm not sure if that's completely normal. Maybe I missed a snap, but it's also possible that just after pulling this front cover off so many times, it just decided to give up the ghost and got a little floppy. But let's take a look at the new monitor and see how it looks. Here's our new screen. You can tell that the viewing angle is just way, way better, even from this gray screen. If we switch to something more colorful, you can see that the colors are just so much more vivid. The blacks are actually black, and the brighter spots aren't blown out at all. The colors just seem more real, I suppose.